intelligencesquared.com.
I will say from the very beginning that the motion is swayed in favour of the West from the outset, simply because we're talking about international contemporary art, which is a Western concept in its own right. It's a product of modernism. It's a product of the Impressionists and the aftermath. So, in a sense, from the outset, if Asian art plays to the strengths of the Western concept of contemporary art, it will be at a disadvantage. If it adopts oil paintings and sculptures, the nude, then it will be at a disadvantage. If it adopts certain forms of what we've come to call conceptual art, and other people call other things, we're going to be playing to the strengths of the dominant culture. If, on the other hand, we look at Lingdi stones, those are those stone sculptures which are left almost in their original state, or we look at brush painting, calligraphy, and its various manifestations, we're playing to the strengths of Asia. And I believe firmly that that's the way the market is going in Asia and in China, certainly. They are, if not eschewing the international modernism, they're certainly moving back towards the past.
I think it's absolutely appropriate that we began by talking about money, because I think that is really the crux of the matter. It seems to me extraordinarily arrogant for us to be standing in this room discussing whether Asian art is groundbreaking or is not groundbreaking. How on earth do we know? How are we judging it? One of the things I've been thinking about a great deal before coming here tonight is why I respond so very, very badly to Chinese art. I thought this is absurd. You can't dismiss Chinese art. And so one of the issues that kept coming up for me was this question of cultural reference, cultural context, cultural circumstance. What does it mean for an Indian artist or a Chinese artist to make work that is of interest to a Western critic? Why would they want to do that? Maybe they feel that they don't have an appropriate intellectual set of circumstances within, that they can relate to in their own country, and therefore they have the need to make work that they see as international, they see as global.
It is my strong belief that the most groundbreaking contemporary art is not emerging from Asia, but it has already arrived. We have already emerged. Contrary to what SARA just mentioned, my fellow panelist, I really don't believe necessarily that Asian artists feel obliged in order to please Western markets, as we will learn throughout this evening's debate.
I think it's an absurd and jingoistic and presumptuous sentiment to even ask the question whether Asian or European art is even more or less groundbreaking than art from any other place on the planet. Funny how American art doesn't rate any mention in this discussion. Sorry to Tim, I once read a quote by Jay Joplin some years ago where he said the only good art was being created in London, yet the rest of England. And it was as inane and meaningless a comment then about art from East London as it is tonight about art from the East. With a population of over 1 billion in China, it would be rather surprising if there wasn't at least some great art emanating out of China in the recent past. But like George Washington, I'm incapable of telling a lie, and embarrassingly, I'm going to admit that I haven't even been to the region yet. Just another sheltered American living in London.
Kenny, I agree with you that all great art basically comes from anywhere in the world. You can look anywhere in the corners of the world, Western or non-Western, and you will find great art. But that's not what we're here to debate tonight. We're here to debate the most groundbreaking art, contemporary art, is coming from the East. And I adamantly, totally, passionately, and with my entire blood and sweat, believe that this is true. It doesn't mean that good art is not being made everywhere in the world. It doesn't mean that important art is not being made everywhere in the world. In this city, in New York, we're not here to sort of decry and attack the decline of the West. We're here to identify a cataclysmic, historic shift in consciousness, in the geopolitical realities, and in culture that is emerging from, let's remind us, 48 countries in the world, covering a population of 3.8 billion.
It's obvious that you're a wise audience, and
There is a delicate subject about recognition. I can see that about a quarter of you are what people in the West call Asian. I find it incredibly embarrassing. I would never call anyone Asian. I don't really understand these divisions.